Suyuti rahimahullah, he begins and says, whoever misses Ramadan, whether that's completely, you didn't fast the entire month for whatever reason, or partially, meaning you missed a couple days, is to make up the missed days. It's preferred to do so immediately and consecutively. So ideally, after Ramadan concludes, if you missed a couple of days or more, then right away you would start making them up, and you would do so consecutively, one after the other. The reason for this is because offering them or making them up is similar or resembles offering them on time, because Ramadan is done consecutively. Making them up, it's preferred to do them consecutively. And because Ramadan is an obligation, it's preferred that you discharge that obligation as soon as humanly possible. And this is regardless if the days were missed due to a permissible reason or an impermissible reason. Doesn't matter why they were missed. What matters is they have to be made up. And it's preferred to make them up immediately and consecutively. And if you do not make them up immediately, meaning for whatever reason you want to delay, and it is permissible to delay making them up later on in the month or later on in the year, it is an obligation that you're determined to make them up. You're not simply negligent about it. I missed a couple days, whatever. We'll try it again next year and see how it goes. You have to have the determination to do so. It is impermissible to delay it, making them up, to the following Ramadan without excuse. This is based on Aisha saying, radiallahu anha, there were days I had to make up from Ramadan, which I was only able to make up in Sha'ban due to the Prophet's status. And she was the wife of the Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. And obviously, there may have been a need for her not to fast. And because it was the Prophet ﷺ who was her husband, then of course she would respect that need. If it is delayed without excuse, meaning to the next Ramadan. So let's say, for example, you have 3 or 4 days to make up. You can't wait until the last day. You just won't have time to make those days up. You have to make them up before the month begins. And if you do so, it's impermissible. It's impermissible to delay until the next Ramadan. And it must be made up along with feeding a poor person. The amount which is enough for an expiation for every day. The expiation is 1 mud of wheat, which is the double-handed scoop, or 2 muds, 2 of these double-handed scoops of other staple foods like dates, raisins, dried yogurt, etc. So those 3 days that we didn't make up in time, Ramadan 1 comes and we still have those 3 days. When the Ramadan ends, we have to make up those 3 days from last year, and then we have to feed, how many? 3 poor people enough food that would suffice for an expiation. This obligation is based on a sound narration from Sa'id on the authority of Ibn Abbas, and an authentic narration reported by Imam ad-Daraqutni on the authority of Abu Hurairah. If they were delayed due to a legitimate excuse, the feeding would not be required. Essentially, if you had an excuse that lasted you the entire year, and you'll find this more common in women than you will in men. So a woman may be breastfeeding, and she's fearful that if she fasts, her milk supply will dry up, or something of that nature, then she has an excuse. Or a person's sick, and it's an illness. Shukran, jazakallah khair. A person is sick and has an illness which would permit them to break their fast and would not require them to make those days up, and they hope that they would recover from that illness, and then of course they can make them up later. If one were to pass away, right? Their delayed fasts with legitimate excuse require no recourse. So if you had days weeks, months to make up. If you had an excuse for not fasting them, no harm, no foul. But if they were delayed without an excuse and you passed away, food is to be given to one poor person for every day they missed on their behalf. Understand that? So a loved one that passed away and that just didn't fast Ramadan for whatever reason, that was in not a legitimate excuse, then those days they should be paid for on their behalf. Discharging the deceased oath of prayer, fasting, pilgrimage, or itikaf. This is when a person makes an oath, a vow. They say, I vow to pray rakatain. I vow to fast a week. I vow to make a pilgrimage beyond what's obligatory. Or I vow to make itikaf. These are all things which are not obligatory, except by way of that vow. He says, is an obligation which must be carried out from their inheritance. Right, so in the instance that you need money to do that, that money has to be used from their inheritance before it's distributed to the inheritors, and it's discharged by the guardian or someone is paid to do it, right? Like Hajj, for example. Someone made a vow to make Hajj, and they could actually make Hajj, but they never came through on it. It's an obligation. And in order to see to that obligation after they passed away, you have to take from their wealth, that inheritance. And you have to pay somebody to go and make Hajj for them. Like the other acts that may require some type of monetary investment. If there is none, meaning there's no money, it's no inheritance, it is recommended that their guardian does it. The guardian would be an inheritor, somebody that would have inherited, that they take care of it for them. This is based on what has been reported by al-Bukhari and Muslim, that a woman came to the Prophet ﷺ and told him that her mother passed away with days she vowed to fast that went unfulfilled. So this is not Ramadan. This is the mother vowed. She says, I swear by Allah, I'm going to fast. However many days. Let's say, for example, to fast a week. I'm going to fast 7 days. And she passed away and she was unable to fulfill those fasts. So she asked if she should fast them for her mother, on behalf of her mother. The Prophet ﷺ said yes, that she should fast on behalf of her mother to make up that vow. So here, this is what's called a proxy, to fulfill something by proxy. And the level of need for a proxy to carry out an act of worship is based on the nature of the act itself. Okay, so because vowed acts, like this woman's fasting, are lesser than obligations, like our obligatory fast of Ramadan, it is required that a proxy discharge those fasts of Ramadan. The guardian in this case is an inheritor. If someone else fasts on the deceased's behalf, not a guardian, not an inheritor, it'll be permissible as a voluntary act, meaning it will fulfill that obligation. This is in regard to someone who vowed to fast while they were capable of doing so. Meaning, someone says, I vow to fast 30 days, they actually have to be physically capable of doing that, not sick, etc. If they vowed to fast and were only capable of doing some, that amount is to be discharged on their behalf. So if reality is that they said they could fast 30 days, but they were only physically capable of fasting 2 days or more, then those are the days that have to be made up. And Umrah is similar to Hajj in this regard, though the ability to perform them both is not considered here like it is for the other